Honestly, something that's never debated in the theme park world is the fact that Velocicoaster and Stardust Racers are two of the best coasters in Florida, and honestly, two of the best coasters in the world. Between the relentless speed, the drops, the inversions, the airtime, plus both of these coasters being built by Intamin and Mock Rides, two of the greatest manufacturers on Earth, it all adds up to the fact that these coasters are no joke, and are constantly praised by coaster fans and enthusiasts all around the world. Along with enthusiasts praising the coasters, enthusiasts also like to compare them. And this is not just because they're both in Universal parks, but they're actually often compared because of their very, very noticeable similarities. I would argue that despite Stardust Racers being a dueling coaster, it is one of the most similar, if not the most similar coaster to Velocicoaster, probably in the world. I can't think of a coaster quite as similar as both of these. And reason being, I mean, both possess launches, both are steel coasters, both have insane airtime, and honestly have similar layouts. I mean, think about it. Velocicoaster has that first launch and then the second launch. Stardust has that first launch and the second launch. Both launches shoot the coasters over top hats. I mean, it's no secret. Both of these coasters are extremely similar to each other. Now, yes, I will admit that there's probably another roller coaster out there that's more similar, but as far as I know, these two are very similar and definitely worth comparing. Now, which of these roller coasters is truly better? And it's not really an easy competition. Because both of these coasters are so incredible, it makes it very challenging to find a true winner among them. Now, as someone who has been on both of the coasters many, many times, I would argue that I have a fair shot of comparing them and finding which one's truly better. Obviously, opinions differ, and maybe you won't agree with me, but this is my honest take. So, Stardust versus Velocicoaster. Which coaster truly takes the cake? Which coaster is truly a better ride all around? Which coaster is better theming? Which coaster has better inversions? How's the speed on both of them? And overall, which of these is the greatest coaster on Universal property? For Stardust Racers, you have some of the most impressive launches on any roller coaster. You were looking at two dual launches that, in my opinion, are better than Velocicoasters. And, you know, despite Velocicoaster getting so much praise for its launches, and the second one especially, because of its launch up to 70 miles per hour and over the top hat, I truly think that Stardust Racers has better launches. And with the first launch, it's only going to 50 miles per hour, the same as Velocicoaster's first launch. But for Stardust, you're not technically going from a standstill like Velocicoaster. And it's also a little different because in between the launches, yes, launches, the first launch has two launches kind of within it. It takes a pause in between both of them, which is really interesting. So if you have ever been on Stardust Racers, you'll notice as it goes around and under that tunnel, it'll launch you first and you'll be like, okay, that's pretty fast. And then the second launch, it sort of pauses in between and then goes to the second launch. And the second launch feels like it's way more impactful. And I don't know if that's because it kind of like builds up hype. It sort of launches you and then sort of slows down, then launches you again. Maybe it has like double the impact. I'm not sure. But as an experienced rider on both Stardust and Velocicoaster, I really think that the initial launch on Stardust just feels way more powerful. I mean, they're both going the same speed. They're both in a tunnel. Maybe it's because you can see the other train on Stardust flying next to you, and it's kind of the same thing as you are sort of seeing a reflection of yourself going that speed so you can see how fast you're going. I mean, visuals play a lot in how fast you feel like you're going, and honestly, so does audio. I haven't mentioned this, but Stardust Racer's soundtrack sort of has this pulsing speed up sound effect as you're going in the tunnel, and it really hypes you up. So you not only have this pause in between the launches where it stops and then speeds you up even faster than you were initially going, but you also can see the other train next to you racing so you can see how fast you're going. I mean, it's a whole package. It all adds up into this feeling that really makes you feel like you're going faster. And I know both of them are the same speed, but if I'm being honest, the impact on Stardust Racer's launch just feels like it's like way faster than Velocicoasters. Now, believe me, I do not want to be a hater on Velocicoaster. Velocicoaster was one of the first roller coasters I've ever been on at the Universal Resort and is still to this day one of my top coasters in Florida, let alone in the world. The second launch is really where Velocicoaster shines. I mean, it's no secret. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but Velocicoaster's second launch is truly an incredible, incredible roller coaster element that stands out as one of the best launches on any roller coaster. What makes this element truly incredible is you just exited one of the craziest parts on the coaster. I mean, the spaghetti intertwining track through the Raptor paddock. And not only are you going at a high speed, but now you're entering the tunnel and you're going even faster as the LSMs launch you up to 70 miles per hour and right over the top hat. It's truly a spectacle. And honestly, the first time I went on it, I thought that was one of the best moments on a roller coaster ever. I mean, that was truly, truly incredible. This moment feels so fast. I mean, that tunnel is long too. So the speed up is really drawn out and you feel like, whoa, that's faster and faster and faster and faster. And you're like, when is it going to ever stop? Meanwhile, the launch on Stardust Racers, the second one is not as good in my opinion. And I know that it leads into one of the highlights of the coaster, the Celestial Spin. But if I'm being honest, I feel like that entire section of Stardust Racers is a tad bit overhyped. Now, don't get me wrong, I really do love the Celestial Spin. But, you know, it's not that great. It's one of those inversions that you notice it's there, and you see the other train above you, and you can almost touch the people's hands on the other train, but it's not really a forceful inversion. The only reason why it's relying on speed is just to get up to the height of the inversion. And obviously, as the trains are going against gravity, they're losing that speed, so as you actually maneuver through the inversion, it sort of feels less forceful. I've always liked the yellow track more, because I feel like the inversion's better, because it's on the way down. Definitely reminds me of the death roll on Iron Gwazi. But this element as a whole is not as good as I wanted it to be. Maybe they could have made the Celestial Spin a bit lower to the ground. That way there was less track in between the launch and the actual element. I feel like if they did that it would feel more forceful and more speedy. This is another major reason why Velocicoaster outdoes Stardust Racers is it's definitely the speed. The speed on Velocicoaster, you can feel it through the elements. I mean, especially when considering the second half. I mean, despite the second half having no launches, I mean, I guess if you include the second launch, but if you don't, the second half has no speed ups. The gravity from the drop on the top hat is what carries the train through the layout on the second half. But for the inverted stall, as well as the Mosasaurus roll, you feel both of these elements at a very high rate of speed. I mean, especially on that Mosasaurus roll, it truly feels like you're whipped to one side and then pulled around over the water. I mean, that's truly one of the most thrilling parts about the coaster. You can definitely notice a vast difference between the coasters when it comes to airtime versus speed. Due to the fact that Stardust Racers possesses many airtime hills, you kind of lose the speed because you're going up and down so many times. The train constantly has to fight against gravity. Meanwhile, Velocicoaster seems to constantly stay low to the ground, especially in the second half. I mean, that first half, you have a couple of airtime hills, but most of the time, the coaster is working with gravity. And on top of this, I mean, Velocicoaster is faster. It goes 70 miles per hour versus Stardust Racers, which goes 63. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that Stardust Racers is bad for not having as much speed. When you think about it, Stardust Racers' layout is designed not to need speed. I mean, it's really focused on airtime, and if there's too much speed, the airtime doesn't hit as much. Now, don't get me wrong, both coasters are very fast. I just feel like Velocicoaster really outdoes itself in the speed category, and it really focuses on that throughout the layout. Velocicoaster also has a very wide variety of elements. I talked about this earlier with the inverted stall, the barrel roll, and all of those incredible twisted elements throughout the first half of the ride. Velocicoaster does well with elements, especially inversions. And I wish Stardust did better with this, but I feel like because it's just so focused on airtime, it kind of makes it difficult for the coaster to focus on other things. I mean, I talked about this earlier with the inversions. The inversions aren't as powerful because there's not as much speed. There's not as much speed because the coaster is focused on airtime a lot. This is the reason why Gigas and Hypers never have inversions. I mean, the coaster track isn't designed for inversions, but also if there were inversions on the coaster, it'd be difficult to do it because those type of coasters are focused on one thing, which is usually speed or airtime. Meanwhile, if you look at an RMC, like, I don't know, Steel Vengeance, you have some great inversions, you have some great airtime, and you have some great speed, some great drops. Those type of coasters, they really have a good mix of elements, and that is where Velocicoaster really shines. Stardust is a little more narrowed down and focused on airtime. Yeah, the first launch is great for speed. It's better than Velocicoaster's first launch. But as far as the rest of the coaster goes, Velocicoaster wins in speed and Stardust wins in airtime. Now, which coaster truly does better in theming? This one is pretty obvious. Stardust Racers is not that great in theming. And it's not really a story coaster like Velocicoaster is. I mean, there is sort of a backstory with the Celestians riding comets through space, but with Velocicoaster, they've outdone themselves with this one. I mean, the entire queue is chock full of Easter eggs from the Jurassic World franchise. I mean, you got those incredible Velocicoaster animatronics. You got that incredible color scheme with the blue and the gray. It looks so good. And even on the actual roller coaster, you got those Velocicoaster statues throughout the ride layout. I usually like to focus on which coaster is actually better rather than which coaster has better theming. But you can't deny that Velocicoaster definitely has some of the best theming out of any roller coaster ever. I have to admit though, night rides on Stardust are way better. Not only do you have a brand new soundtrack that's playing during the night, I mean, yeah, there's two alternating soundtracks, one during the day and one during the night, and it's just this pulsing vibe with the train riding through the night. The train is the only thing that's lit up. I mean, it looks incredible visually, Stardust Racers at night. Velocicoaster night rides are great, but, you know, Stardust is better. It's always really challenging to come up with a final verdict for these coasters. I mean, both do so well. Velocicoaster with all of its elements, its speed and its inversions, and its theming, and then Stardust Racers with its insane airtime and its audio and that first launch, and the fact that you're racing another roller coaster right beside you and you get really close to it. But really, if I'm being honest, I feel like Velocicoaster kind of has the fuller package. But that's just my opinion. I mean, it's up for interpretation. If you really like speed, more elements, or if you're an airtime fanatic and are more a fan of unique coasters, Stardust Racers will be for you in that case. But it's obviously up for interpretation. I'd honestly prefer Velocicoaster, but it's still really close. Sometimes these will interchange between my top two, and maybe I'll never find a permanent #1 spot at the Universal Orlando Resort, but that's fine.